Earlier this summer, a story of marriage, money, Mormonism, and milk seemed to break the internet, or at least the part of the internet I lurk on. And that was the story of Ballerina Farm, a couple-owned business whose content creator face is the wife, Hannah Nealman. Hannah had been well known on TikTok and Instagram for her videos showcasing a seemingly rustic, straight from the 19th century farmer lifestyle of baking bread, milking cows, and churning butter, all while a pack of 8 young children run around her. But the story went beyond aesthetic videos when in July, a profile of Hannah was published titled "Meet the Queen of the TRADWIVES and Her 8 Children." I'll be honest, I got sucked into a hole when I first discovered the story. I just couldn't get enough of it. I was uneasy reading the viral piece about how Hannah was often exhausted to the point of staying in bed a week straight, how her husband's father is a billionaire but they refused to hire nannies to help Hannah with the 8 kids, and how Hannah seemingly had to let go of her dream of being a ballerina after all the responsibilities of a fast marriage and back-to-back kids took its toll. But this video is not about Hannah per se. As I'll argue later in this video, I actually think it's a misnomer to call Hannah a tradwife. Just like it's not accurate to say that popular creators like Nara or Emily Mariko are. But this video is about tradwives. Specifically, I want to approach this topic through a financial lens. Because money is something we have to consider and talk about if we're going to truthfully prop up or tear down traditional wifehood. By the way, if you're new here, I'm Cara and I make video essays on the intersection of money, media, and intentional living. If you want more videos like this one, I made a video touching on tradwife culture a couple years ago, as well as the stay-at-home girlfriend trend, and I have tons of others you should check out after watching this one. And if you're having trouble watching because your eyes are tired of looking at the screen or your glasses are old, well, luckily today's sponsor, Warby Parker, can help out. Warby Parker actually has an incredible deal right now where you can get 15% off if you buy 2 or more prescription sunglasses or glasses. If you guys saw my Adam Sandler Quiet Luxury video, you'll know I've been trying to figure out what glasses to get from Warby Parker. I used their home try-on option to try on 5 different styles, plus their virtual try-on tool that let me test out looks using my phone. Super easy, super convenient, and all of the glasses looked so cute. I ended up going with the gold frames that I showed you guys last time that I thought were really cute. I love them. I also got this black and gold baby here that I did not show you guys last time. I think this style looks great on me, if I do say so myself. They are just both really cute, very comfortable, and they were very, very affordable. I've genuinely been wearing these ever since I got them. I am only taking them off right now because of that ring light and how distracting it is, but rest assured, these have been great. If you're someone who wears glasses or you've been looking into getting something like blue light glasses for eye fatigue, do yourself a favor and use Warby Parker to get a great deal. Like I said, you can right now get 15% off when you buy 2 or more prescription glasses or sunglasses. Check out my link below or scan the QR code that is on my screen right now, and thank you so much to Warby Parker for sponsoring today's video. So back to the topic of tradwives through a financial lens. And to make sure we're all on the same page, let's first discuss what exactly a tradwife is. A tradwife, as you might have been able to guess, is shorthand for the phrase traditional wife. If that conjures up imagery of 50s housewives that keep a pristine home, raised the kids, and greeted their husbands at the door with a smile, or romantic historical depictions of women tending to the house while their husbands brought home the bacon, then you're already picturing the essence of the movement. At its core, the tradwife lifestyle promotes the idea of traditional gender roles, which is quite the revisionist history if we're gonna be honest, but the core idea is that a woman's place is in the home, focused on homemaking, child rearing, serving her husband, while the man takes on the role of breadwinner, aka he makes the money. In many of the tradwife influencers we see in the general discourse on traditional marriages, religion often plays a major role in how those gender roles feel inherent and unquestionable. On social media, you'll also see a lot of abstract, more secular ideas mixed in to rationalize why being a tradwife is the best role for women. Ideas that include how tradwifehood allows women to lean into their full femininity, that it's an intentional pushback against hustle culture and dreams of labor, or that it's just the right thing to do if we want to raise happy, successful children. These ideas are often propped up against visuals of gorgeous, perfectly styled women, Pinterest-like homes, and soft color palettes. But as media literacy teaches us, visuals aren't everything, and a lot can be hidden behind well-crafted visual messaging. We have to be critical of the claims that these videos are making directly and indirectly if we want to understand how the financial outlook they're pushing is so damaging. For example, let's dissect those 3 claims that I just mentioned. First off, the claim that being a tradwife lets a woman embrace her full femininity. This one's logic relies on confining femininity to domestic labor and what I would describe as benevolently sexist traits. You never hear in these tradwife spheres the idea that femininity can be expressed through running a business, do you? Despite the fact that countless research shows women are more effective leaders. Instead, we have the benevolently sexist idea that women should be on head empty, nurture and wander mode all day, and that is our best path for peace and fulfillment. There's this creator I love on TikTok named Mackin Murphy who studies human mating behavior at Oxford, and he explains the dangers of benevolent sexism really well in this video I'll show a clip of.
If you think about it, believing that women must be protected and provided for is pretty infantilizing, and frankly facilitates their dependence on men. First he pays for dinner, then he sorts out the taxes, then he does the budget. Oh, life's so easy, but now he controls all of your finances. Really, if you want someone to become dependent on you, the best thing you can do is not become super controlling, but just do everything for them. And this is part of why some scholars think chivalry, benevolent sexism, or BS, is actually more dangerous than hostile sexism. More dangerous to women, because it's the type of sexism that women buy into.
Go check them out, by the way, if you are not already. When we tell women that submitting to their husbands is the path to embracing their true femininity, we're not only confining what it means to be feminine, but we're unnecessarily stripping women of their autonomy. I am not saying that every woman needs to go climb the corporate ladder, start a business, travel the world. Rejecting those paths and choosing to be a homemaker full-time is totally valid, but you can and should still maintain your personal and financial autonomy. These should not be mutually exclusive, and yet they're often framed as just that. As for the idea that the tradwife lifestyle is a direct antithesis to hustle culture and boss babes, I understand how that line of logic feels emotionally accurate at first glance, but if you think about it deeper, it doesn't really make sense. For one, we can disconnect from the FOMO and the imposter syndrome and the comparison trap that hustle culture often breeds without fully rejecting paid labor. Many people clock in and out of work every single day without subscribing to hustle culture. It's largely a matter of working on your own internal relationship with work-life balance. But then there will be those who say it's not about the pressure of hustle culture, it's about the labor. I don't dream of labor. And to that I say, what do you think you're gonna do as a tradwife? I'll give you a hint. Labor. Lots and lots of labor. You are not escaping labor. You're just jumping into a different type. Cleaning, cooking, emotional and mental labor. Unless you've married a very rich partner who is willing to outsource chores, you'll be doing a whole lot of labor. Even then, you know what they say. If you marry for money, you will end up having to work for it every single day. And some might argue that working women have to deal with that kind of labor anyways. But that's a result of men not pulling their weight in dual income households. Women shouldn't have to sacrifice their autonomy because men aren't willing to step up and be equals in labor. And lastly, you might argue that the tradwife path is just better for children, that they're happier and healthier that way. And look, I totally sympathize with a parent wanting to be at home more for their young child. I don't agree though that it means sacrificing financial autonomy. And I'll talk through steps about how to balance both later in this video, but I understand that some people want to be at home raising their kids. That being said, the claim that tradwife motherhood results in happier and healthier kids is incredibly subjective. Research actually shows that kids of working moms grow up to be just as happy as the kids of stay-at-home moms. The research also finds that children of working moms have more education, daughters of working moms are more likely to be employed, advance their careers, and have higher annual earnings, and sons of working moms were found to spend more time caring for their families. I want to be crystal clear that I am not saying that stay-at-home moms or homemakers shouldn't exist. Not at all. That's not what I'm saying. That's one of the beauties of feminism, is that we all get to individually choose what works best for us. But what I do want to do is 1, debunk the classic claims people make in favor of tradwifehood, and 2, highlight that there is an important distinction between a normal stay-at-home mom and being a tradwife. Tradwife is an extra level that comes packaged with these misleading claims and strict frameworks that put women in a submissive position that I think is ultimately dangerous. Not just financially, but physically and mentally. Finally, to wrap up my parade of debunking, one last thing to clarify. The whole, we're just going back to when women stayed at home and men had the jobs. This is the way it's always been. It's the way it's meant to be. Modern feminism has led us astray. This annoys me so much because it's just not historically accurate, and it is very easy to debunk that myth. For example, yes, in the mid-20th century in the US, when a lot of these current supporters' parents were young, that was more the case. That's the era of the romanticized ads showing dolled-up women using new appliances at home. But that was also reserved mostly for middle and upper-class white women. If we go further back, we have a long history of women being involved in economic activities. During the Industrial Revolution, working-class women worked long hours in factories and mills to support themselves, their husbands, and their families. Pre-industrialization, we have women in all types of labor roles, from domestic servants in rich homes, to textile creators in the cottage industry, to farmhands that served as a central role in the agrarian economies. This isn't just in Western societies either. For example, during the Song dynasty in China, women were deeply involved in silk production, which was vital to China's economy through the Silk Road. In the Ottoman Empire, women were often responsible for the weaving and embroidery work that was sent across the empire's trade networks. And in pre-colonial Yoruba society, women were the organizers of local markets and trade. Their status in society was more based on their marketplace position than on their husband's status. I feel like our picture of women's work history is often distorted by shows like Mad Men or even something like Bridgerton. We just kind of forget all the non-rich people stories that are on the periphery in those shows, but like, women are constantly working in those shows outside of the home. Of course, within rich people, it's been different. Sometimes neither the husband nor wife work, but most people throughout history have not been rich. I think it's important to acknowledge these misleading claims that TRADWIFE supporters make, because if we're going to really understand the risks, we have to understand what's being said. Because on the surface level, the TRADWIFE lifestyle can seem appealing. There's an aesthetic to its depiction online, one that strikes a nostalgic chord for people. It makes us feel like we're returning to some mythologized, simpler times. It's a nostalgia for something that never existed, but we want to be true because it fits into our desires for a less complicated life, despite the fact that there may be better ways to pursue this kind of simplicity, like cutting out more stimuli from your life. The TRADWIFE aesthetic fails to recognize all of the risks involved with that kind of lifestyle choice. What happens when a TRADWIFE is fully financially dependent on their partner and something goes wrong? Abuse, divorce, death. As the famous quote goes, if they can feed you, they can starve you. I think of it like the stock picker hustler bros online and the lifestyle they depict. A lifestyle of betting it all on some stock or crypto, cashing it out like crazy, and then hopping onto private jets. I guess it's possible that that's someone's life, but it's highly unlikely. Instead, the creator is selling a lifestyle that isn't the full picture. It doesn't capture the strong likelihood of losing your money in stock gambling, or how unsustainable that life would be long term. Similarly, TRADWIFE influencers gloss over the financial reality that they themselves are often making money through content creation. Opposite of the financial gender roles, their content aims to reinforce. It all begins to feel a little pyramid schemey when you start looking at it through that lens. You have a group of women bringing in money online by telling other women that they should give up money-making pursuits and submit to their husbands. This is where I want to make a clear distinction between what I would call TRADWIFE influencers, people who are actively encouraging the TRADWIFE lifestyle, and influencers like Ballerina Farm or Nara Smith, who've been assigned this label of TRADWIFE despite evidence otherwise. Hannah from Ballerina Farm was even asked about this TRADWIFE label she's been given, saying, "I don't necessarily identify with it." And I can understand why, because Ballerina Farm isn't just some random woman's TikTok account, it's an enormous media brand and a growing e-commerce business. Hannah is a brand spokesperson and business owner, and the career skills she's maintaining help defend against the financial risks usually posed to TRADWIFEs. If her husband suddenly disappeared, Hannah wouldn't be as financially vulnerable as a traditional wife would be. That's an incredibly important difference. That being said, I would push Hannah to get her name on the business's LLC, since right now it's reportedly just her husband's name. And look, I'm not saying that Hannah's marriage appears equitable in the ways that I or others may want. Her business and branding work doesn't erase the potential for other issues. But at the same time, I am a stranger on the internet, and my commentary on her marriage stops there. through the financial lens we're focused on today, the tradwife risks aren't something that Hannah is as exposed to. And I think it's a bit unfair to push Hannah into this tradwife box that isn't really accurate. The same thing goes for Nara Smith. I feel like because her and Ballerina Farm make videos on cooking, and because they're beautiful and they have kids, we automatically conflate their lives with those of tradwives. But Nara, just like Hannah, is a businesswoman. She's a content creator and a model who just happens to enjoy cooking. You know what's funny is I never see people assigning gendered narratives onto the male cooks online. I mean, imagine every Gordon Ramsay video was followed by some think piece about how he's promoting the traditional male provider role and leaning into male aggression with his angry tone. This is all to say that there is a difference between the aesthetics of tradwife, which sometimes we lump people in there that don't deserve to be in there, and the realities of being a tradwife. The real tradwife life is a lot less glamorous and a lot more risky when you aren't clearing 6 figures as an influencer. As many comments on tradwife videos point out, notice how you never see tradwives in their 40s advocating trad life. Many former tradwives describe the incredible pressure, exhaustion, and exploitation they faced as a tradwife, and so much of that is a result of financial dependence. When you rely solely on your spouse for financial support, you lose the ability to make independent decisions. If things go wrong, whether because of cheating, abuse, or even just growing apart, you're left with little control over your own life. And some might say, well, that's why you have to pick a good man, or, well, I trust my husband, but I'm willing to bet that no tradwife has entered their marriage thinking that that was going to happen to them. And even if you do have a fantastic partner, death or disability can still happen that puts your family in a financially vulnerable position. Unfortunately, financial abuse occurs in 98% of abusive relationships, and is the #1 reason victims stay in or return to abusive relationships. Without your own financial resources, leaving a bad marriage becomes incredibly difficult, and many tradwives find themselves stuck in situations they can't afford to escape. Younger women who are seeing these idyllic tradwife lifestyles depicted are probably not considering the financial risks they're taking on if they embrace this lifestyle. It's really worth listening to older voices in this situation who have been in those tradwife shoes. And to be clear, it is not just tradwives who can be victims to financial abuse. Even people who are breadwinners in their household can be vulnerable to this. Like Mel B from Spice Girls, whose ex-husband controlled her finances to the point where she had no access to her own earnings. That's why it is so important to be involved in your personal finances, regardless of your gender or whatever role you have in the household. I know that I have been throwing out tons of famous phrases in this video, but here's another one. A man is not a financial plan. So if a man isn't a financial plan, what is? Here are some ways that tradwives, or really anyone regardless of gender, should be thinking about handling their finances. Caveat, I am not a financial planner or advisor. I am simply collecting some of the advice that financial experts give on this topic. So first and most straightforward, get involved with your household's finances. You should be knowing what's coming in and out, what your investments are, what the passwords to all the accounts are, and your name should be on these accounts and assets. It is a lot harder to be blindsided or made vulnerable if you have visibility and knowledge. Like I mentioned before with Ballerina Farm, one of my main critiques of their financial situation is that Hannah's name is reportedly not on the business's LLC. If she's really a co-CEO like she claims, her name deserves to be on there too. 2, make sure that your partner has life insurance and disability insurance. You just never know what can happen in life, and a household that relies solely on one person's income is a wobbly Jenga block tower. You gotta fortify the tower a bit, and insurance is something that can help provide a financial cushion if something awful were to ever happen. 3rd, look into getting a prenup or a postnup. I know, it sounds wildly unromantic, but if you're a tradwife, you need to ensure you have legal protections that recognize all the work you're still doing. It might not be paid, but it's still work. In a prenup or a postnup, you can lay out a salary that your partner has to pay you in your name. I think this is a great idea because it allows you to start accumulating assets and wealth in your own name. Have your partner pay you a salary, build an emergency fund for you, and require them to contribute to a retirement plan under your name every year. That might sound ridiculous, but it is something that your partner should want to do if they are sincerely interested in protecting and caring for you. If the marriage goes well, you'll be using that money collectively anyways, and if things don't go well, you now have assets in your own name. And lastly, have a plan for career re-entry just in case. Maybe this is content creation, part-time work, or volunteering admin tasks in your community to keep your skills up. It's important to think about what your career plan will be if you ever need to go down that route again. I know some people are going to say that I am being overly pessimistic or jaded when I talk about all this stuff. They're going to say, oh, you don't believe in marriage and men and whatever else. But this is about being prepared and practical. It's not about assuming that the worst is going to happen, but it's about empowering ourselves and our families to have the freedom of choice if something were to go wrong. It's like bringing a life vest on a boat. You might not need it, but if you do, you will be incredibly thankful you brought one. But what do you think? What are your thoughts on the tradwife lifestyle, whether through a financial lens or not? And what do you think about the aesthetics of tradwife versus the reality? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and what topics you want to see me cover next. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see more videos like this one, be sure to subscribe and check out my other videos. Thank you so much to my patrons on Patreon for supporting this channel, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.